What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Zach Mac Fishing. As always, I want to tell you thank you so much for your support. Thank you for watching the channel. If you have a friend that enjoys fishing that doesn't know about the channel, please pass word along. And again, just thanks for your patronage. Today, what we're talking about is a little bit different. This is not going to be a catch video, which I usually do, but kind of more of a how-to type tutorial. And I think those that'll benefit most are probably those who have not used scent before, but you're thinking about getting into that, thinking about what's that all about. You know, if you're newer to the crappie game too, it's going to be beneficial. But scent is important, in my opinion, whether you're talking about bass or crappie. Predatory fish do rely to a degree on scent, and I think that becomes more pronounced in these colder months where the fish are inactive. You know, they're not as inclined to chase a moving target. In fact, they're so cold this time of year that a target that moves quickly might actually discourage them from biting. So scent becomes more important than ever for crappie and bass here during these dead, tough months of winter. So I want to break scent down for you a little bit, because if you haven't used it before and you go to one of the big box tackle stores or even to Walmart, you're going to be overwhelmed. There are so many choices, but they can be categorized, I think, into about 4 different categories. And I didn't go and buy all these at once. These are just, I've accumulated these over a period of time, okay? But let's talk about them. The first scent additive or enhancer that you're very familiar with, it's certainly one that's my favorite, is the crappie nibble, okay? And actually, there you go. Get you out of the sun a little bit there. So that's what it looks like, and I'm actually going to go broader. I say crappie nibble, but basically these scents are your dough baits. Could be power bait, could be crappie nibbles, could be trout nibbles. Anything with a Play-Doh consistency that you can slide onto your hook, those are in what I would call the dough category of scents. The advantages to that type of a scent is that when you have a ball like that you slip on the hook, it releases that odor as it dissolves, and it will release that odor for a long period of time, either until you catch a fish or it completely dissolves. The disadvantages to using a dough type of scent enhancement is that it can, especially as it stays in the water longer, it can become unstable and slip off your hook. It's not real difficult for the smaller fish to rip you off and steal it from you without actually getting hooked, that sort of thing. So now the next type of scent I want to talk about, and this comes in the category of what I call I don't know, slather scents or application scents, I guess. What could we call those? But these are scents that you apply directly to the lure. And probably one of the most common examples here is this power bait scent. Let's see if we can get that in there. There we go. So, you know, you've got that power bait smell. And a little goes a long way. You know, you just pop the top, barely squeeze a little bit, and just kind of get a little bit of scent on each side of your plastic lure. So those are what I would call your application scents, where you apply the scent to the lure, and there are lots and lots and lots of different brands. Power bait is one of many. The advantage, I would say, is, like I said, a little goes a long way. A bottle will last you a long time. The disadvantage is you got to wait a few minutes, or at least I would wait a few minutes before I put the bait in the water after you apply it. Give that scent a chance to soak in. The other disadvantage is I think you're going to have to reapply fairly often, because this is a scent you're applying externally to the bait, and then you're immediately putting it in water. So the next type of scent that you may be familiar with is what I call dip scents. And these are scents that you usually will take the tail end of your plastic and dip it in the scent. Most common example of this, and again, there are many, but most commonly, Spike It. Y'all see that dip scent. Advantages are these actually last a long time. Spike It especially. Once you dip that in Spike It, give it the 30 seconds to kind of set in. You can fish a long time. And it's easy to tell when your scent is starting to go completely, because Spike It will change the color of whatever you dip it into. And particularly this glow chartreuse that I have, it will turn the tail of your plastic bright green, and as that scent starts to deteriorate, that bright green color will fade. So the advantage there is that it lasts a long time, and it's easy to tell when you need to reload. At the same time, that's kind of also the disadvantage with the dip type scent, because you may not want to change your color presentation. This time of year is very, very important to match the hatch. And so if you're trying to match a gizzard shad, and you dip your gizzard shad imitation into Spike It or into any dip bait that changes the color of the tail to, let's say, fluorescent green, well, then that kind of looks like a bluegill underwater or a shell cracker, and may not appeal as much to your target species. There are advantages and disadvantages to all of these guys. Last but by no means least are pre-scented baits, and sky's the limit on these. Tons of different options. One of many, Gulp. Okay, Gulp comes literally immersed in its own scent. And then, Power Bait. Lots and lots of products that Berkeley makes that are the Power Bait brand, and I've had great success with those, particularly Power Bait tubes. So your major categories then, once again, I would say are your dough type scents that you can slide on the hook, your application scents that you apply to your lure, your dip scents that you dip your lure in it, and your pre-scented lures. They all have advantages and disadvantages. With the pre-scented lures, I probably didn't hit on those. Advantages, those are very, very good right out of the gate. The scent is strong. For a trip or two, maybe 3, that scent will stay really, really strong. But what you've got to remember with the pre-scented lures, the disadvantage there is, like anything else, over a period of time, the scent will fade. And so then's when you've got to, usually with a pre-scented lure, what I'll do is I'll simply tie on a new lure. I won't mess with trying to put any sort of external scent on it. But again, circling back, you've got your dough scents, you've got your application scents that you put on the lure, you've got your dip scents that you dip the lure in, and you've got your pre-scents, pre-scented lures. And those are going to be your 4 major categories of scents. Especially this time of year, I highly recommend that you use some sort of scent. And really year-round, I use scent of some sort. Whether it be a crappie nibble or whether it be a Gulp minnow, I will use something that has some scent on it. So I hope this helps. Like I said, my go-tos, my favorites are going to be crappie nibbles, the Power Bait application that you can put the Power Bait smell on there, Spike It, and then amongst the pre-scenteds, pre-scented lures again, power bait's hard to beat, so is gulp. Those are the two big ones I like. So one other tip on this: when you get these, when you start collecting these, you've got to make sure that that lid, and I'm sorry about the sun, but you got to make sure that lid stays on there tight. You got to make sure that package is completely sealed. I'll guarantee you what you don't want to have happen is for one of these to leak or bust in your backpack. If you use a backpack, you don't want to have one of these bust or leak in your vehicle. I've had crappie nibbles from a loose jar come out in my clothing. They stink. They'll make your clothing stink. So just double check your stuff at the end of every fishing trip before you put it away. Make sure lids are tight. Make sure seals are tight. Hopefully this helps. Tight lines. God bless. Go fishing.